Hello and welcome to today's podcast episode. I'm so excited to have you here for the Women Thrive podcast. Today I have a special guest, Claudia Spahr, with us. And today we'll be talking about how to cultivate female leaders' mindsets to be rooted in your power and become the change so needed in the world. I'm so excited to have you here, Claudia, for today's podcast.
Oh, thank you, Raimonda. It's so great to be able to talk about one of my favorite subjects with you.
Amazing. And if you don't know Claudia yet, I'm so excited to introduce her to you, all of our listeners today. Now, Claudia is not only chosen as one of our speakers for our Women Thrive Summit coming up in March, she's also the founder and CEO of HolyMama. She's an international speaker, author, and has certified retreat leaders in over 20 countries and led more than hundreds of international retreats since 2006. Before becoming a health and wellness expert, Claudia spent over a decade reporting for radio and TV as a broadcast journalist and foreign correspondent. She's been featured as a wellness pioneer by international media, including the Telegraph, Guardian, Huffington Post, and Psychologies Magazine. Claudia, I am so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. You know, it all sounds great, this intro, and I'll let you into a secret. Those intros are written by us, right? I am just a normal person. I wake up in the morning and I think, oh gosh, today's going to be today I've got to do all these things. And sometimes I go to sleep and I think I'm not actually good enough. So just so you know, when we have these amazing accomplishments in life, it doesn't mean we're suddenly stop being real people. So I just wanted to add that there because, you know, the intro, it's true. I have done all those things and I worked bloody hard, to get where I am today. And this is what I think is so important for everyone who's an entrepreneur or who's on this journey to understand is it is not like you have this first thing you have to do and then it's all clear sailing and then, you cease being a human being. It's constant growth. And this is why it's such a beautiful thing to be an entrepreneur, because you are constantly growing and learning about yourself, about the world around you, about people. And, especially in this service orientated business that I'm in, I learn so much about people every day. And that's what gets me up in the morning.
And I really love, your tenacity in this and just being real human, because I believe this is how we build true and authentic connections, because so many people out there build their personal brands and it looks so amazing on the outside, but it's what's inside that truly matters. And ever since we connected through a mentoring program by Les Brown, I feel like you have always just showed up as authentic self. And that is how I think you've grown such a huge audience and following in what you're doing. Not only your work is incredible, but also just your heart. And I'm so honored to have you part of the summit coming up in March.
Thank you, Raimonda. Thank you for, I think it's important we recognize each other as we are, especially in this environment we're living in. There's so much disconnection and there's, we're going into this very digital, high-tech world. And if, most of us are old enough to remember what it was like before iPhones and all this digital technology came along. And now, of course, with this whole pandemic, a lot of us have been very isolated. So even more so, we need to show our humanity and connect from heart to heart. And you can do this through this portal. I always say this is like a Stargate, this little green dot on the computer that I'm looking at. Yes, it's a piece of technology, but it's your opportunity to connect with and those listening. If you're listening to this, you've got, audio, it's actually my first love, radio. It's how I started out. And there's this it's not just an idea, but it's actually a fact that our voice, the anima, it's our soul expressing, a bit like looking into someone's eyes is looking into someone's soul. So when you hear someone's voice, there's a resonance. This is why sound healing works so well, because it's vibrational, that allows you to feel them. So it's all about, I think what's happening now, and it's very exciting, is that we are learning how to connect energetically, and without being too woo about this, because when you use the word energy, and it can often mean all, it can, it can be a little bit vague. But I do believe that, we look at things like Reiki and energy healings. There is a lot to it that we are actually exploring our energetic beingness now. Go up to the water. If you're near the forest, go up to the trees, look at the leaves, just, connect with what is around you and other humans, of course, not just plants and animals.
Amazing. I love that because, as you say, energy is everywhere. Our computers, our technology is powered by energy. We are powered by energy and we connect through energy. As you say, we all have our own distinctive essence about ourselves, from our voice, from our presence, and the energy that we radiate in this world. And it truly can be powerful. I want to dive in a little bit, and I know you will be talking more about this in the summit, but I want to dive in a little bit more into your story. So you're a very successful journalist. You had a great career, but you have chosen to go on your own and start your own business. I know some women might be in a similar position where they're considering of leaving their current careers or have just transitioned. Tell me a little bit more about your journey in doing so.
Yes, it's always this thing when we change something. I believe most of us, and I think as human beings, we are creatures of comfort. And this is why it's so hard for us to transition. And this is why this pandemic has been so hard for so many people, because there's a lot of newness, a lot of, let's go back to normal. And so when, in my specific case, and I'm imagining a lot of people can relate to this, when you're working in corporate, when you have a good job that pays a good salary, but it's not all 100% perfect because you would actually like to be more free. You would like to have a better work-life balance. A lot of women listening to this, I see it a lot, of course, because of my community. I have a lot of mothers in my community. When they become mothers, they suddenly don't want to go back to the job they had. So that's another moment where you're pushed out of something, even though, when I say comfort zone, it means many things. But I think for a lot of people who are transitioning from corporate to working for themselves, it feels like too much of a risk to take. Now, what happened in my case was I jokingly call it the moment I was booted out of patriarchy. I had no choice. I was called into a feedback meeting with 4 male bosses who were very old school, and they thought, this is really old fashioned, but they really thought that a woman couldn't do that job, just generally a woman. It was machismo, pure Swiss machismo. And they wanted to replace me with a man. So they didn't have a reason to fire me because I was doing my job extremely well. So they gave me a year's salary. So it was a bit like a golden handshake, not a handcuff. So you go from the golden handcuff to the golden handshake to freedom. Now, first, you fall into a hole. I think that's normal. I did, because you feel like you've failed. Everything you've done, if you're a career-minded, everything you've done in your life, it's all about achievement and ticking all the boxes and, getting the grades, doing the right thing, being the good girl or the good boy, whatever. So the first response is usually, what on earth am I going to do? And I know a lot of people who have now had redundancies due to, there's a lot of redundancies all the time, and corporate is about hiring and firing. It's the environment, which is, it's very hierarchical and it's based on fear. Everyone's afraid. Those on top are afraid too, because you're not safe. It's an unsafe environment. So first I had to really transform all of that thinking and get over this idea that I had failed and see it as a massive opening. And just to cut a long story short, I went to see a guru in Wembley. He was this crazy, he was very interesting, eccentric character who did my numerology and my astrology, and he was sort of a psychic. And I think what happens when you go and see psychics, there's a lot of wishy-washy stuff out there, and I don't think it really works. However, it can, if they say something that triggers something in you. And I do think a good psychic actually reads your energy or connects with your energy, because you have all the answers inside you. It's not them saving you. But anyway, he in that moment said, looks like you're going to leave London. And I was like, I don't want to leave London. And then he said, looks like you're never going to work for anyone else ever again. And part of me just went, oh my goodness, yes. And I remember running out, and he had this little room above a tire shop in Wembley. And the whole thing was just it was surreal. It was out of a movie. And I ran down those stairs, and it was like this red carpet had been rolled out in front of me. And I was like, yes, I finally get to be a writer. And I booked a ticket to go to Cambodia, and I took myself out to Asia and spent a year writing a novel and living this bohemian life and having an amazing time. Spent about 20% at most of my severance pay. And then that led me into the world of yoga and wellness. And, there are a few stories I'm going to end on this note, but it was basically when something like this happens, doors will open. And it's being receptive to those openings, and really, it's about really connecting with yourself in a way that allows you to go, what did I want to actually do when I was 20? Well, what were my dreams? What were my aspirations before I got caught up in this kind of serious world of careers and mortgages? And I think that's the key to you really having that power and that energy to be an entrepreneur and to do your own thing. Not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. Some people choose to stay in corporate, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to have a great life, because I believe also as we're changing our systems, there needs to be a lot of people within corporate who get it and who go, you know what, let's do this meeting differently. Let's not have so much people trying to get their point across. Let's try and have more of a sharing, like a circle where everyone gets to share. And then really good creative ideas will come up, because people who work in teams, I mean, some corporate companies are really good at teamwork, so I'm not trying to sort of do a polarity. For me, it was what I needed to do. I needed to work on my own. And, and those people who do, sometimes when a door closes, it's a sign that that's not your path. You can try and force a square peg into a round hole as much as you like, but you've got to find another path.
And you truly have found this new path. And not only you have built a very successful wellness business yourself, now you also certify other wellness leaders in becoming certified wellness retreat leaders. So tell me a little bit more about this leadership role that you have taken on and have been able to train other people in the wellness industry.
Thank you for asking that. So when I had the idea to start training other leaders, it was because my company, HolyMama, was starting to do extremely well, and there started to be a recognition that there was a massive need for this, and there were only so many retreats I could do. So I actually told my ex-partner that I wanted to do this, and his response was, why would you want to do that? Then everyone will take your customers away from you. And that's the old mindset. That's the scarcity mindset. It doesn't work like that. The more you actually share your gifts and share what you're doing that's working well, the more, and this is this lift as we rise, this when you rise, you get everyone to rise if you're being open about it and not being like, oh, this is only me who can do it. People are going to copy me, but now I'm not going to let out my secrets. No, I share my secrets. I encourage them to try it out. I mean, this is why I do the training. I tell them, this is where I made mistakes. This is where you need to look out. But it's mainly about empowering them to be their own leaders. And this automatically then lifts you as the leader of the leaders or whatever. It's not hierarchical in the sense that it's like that. It's more like we're all moving forward together. They inspire me every day. I've led, I think it's the 7th group now that I'm certifying, and they're from all over the world, and now the first man as well, different cultures, I mean, you see it with this summit. There are just incredible women who come together. And I think as we're moving into this multiverse of eclectic, multicultural. I mean, this is what makes I always think of nature when you think of a tropical forest, how diverse it is. And this is a colorful world. This is a beautiful world. This is not, this is why I think we're on the same page here. And I love it how you put together you bring in speakers from all over the world with so many different perspectives, and it's all welcome. This is what we need. We need this inclusive conversation and these inclusive summits where everyone who speaks has a voice and everyone who's listening feels that a representative of what they're going through has just spoken their truth.
That's so true. And I love how you say, the tropical forest has a bit of everything and they all thrive together and it becomes an ecosystem. And without a certain part within that ecosystem, it wouldn't be able to thrive. If you put birds or the mushrooms or the trees, they're all interconnected like we are interconnected in this world. We all bounce off each other. We're here because we create this community. So I really love your perspective on that and the importance of collaboration, because I know women particularly go through unique challenges. And I know you have experienced quite a few yourself. And, for you to now be able to inspire other people and talk about the challenges that you have experienced along the way. What inspires you to empower other women along this journey?
I'm going to have to just sit with that question for a moment. I think it was so compulsive for me that I don't really have a choice. I don't know if you've ever done this. I think it's called the Desire Map process by Danielle Laporte, and it was all about how do you want to feel. And so one of mine was to be inspired and inspiring. They kind of go together. It's because I love being inspired. I mean, if you take the word apart, inspirar is from Latin. It means to breathe life into. It's all about breathing light as well. So it's a vitality thing, I think, and it's also because I know how hard it is, and I've been in the dredges of from living in a very coercive relationship to being in a job where I was controlled and dominated. This is the paradigm we're moving out of collectively, when you go through it on a personal level and you come out of it and you remember what it felt like to be trapped, because at the end of the day, it's about being trapped or being free. I mean, freedom is a concept, and I know it's banged around a lot right now because of the world situation. What does it actually mean? And I don't need to take that apart, but to answer your question, for me, it just feels like a natural extension and evolution of what my life has been up until now, and to share with others the struggles I've been through, and that they too can find a way through and a way out. And because I work so much with transformation, that's the work you do on retreat. Basically, people come and they transform something, whether it's just by relaxing, or sometimes it really is going through quite a deep emotional process. And when we go through a transformation or a process, there is often a falling apart, of breaking apart, a breaking down. And then on the other side of that, that's where the magic is. That's where things suddenly start to become apparent to you and clear to you. But when you're going through that tunnel, I'd be like when, birth, you don't know what's going to happen. It's just very scary. And so this is why when, for example, a retreat and a summit like what we're doing together, it is about creating safety. So in these safe spaces, we can transform things quite miraculously. And that can be, listening to a summit can be a transformative experience for someone, because they actually, they suddenly see clarity about something that they've really been struggling with. So yes, I think this motivates me and drives me on in doing this work and being part of the incredible summits like this one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caudia. Your journey has not been an easy one, but I think there is lessons for our audience to really hear your story, to be inspired, to be uplifted. And I really love the work that you do with women leadership, with the retreats and holistic living, which I believe that so many people are moving into. And we can build our life very successfully. We can build amazing careers, homes, and relationships, but it doesn't always mean we're deep down happy or feel aligned, because we're trying to meet the expectations of the society sometimes and forget about ourselves. So I'm very excited about hearing your talk during our summit, which will be about cultivating the female leader mindset, being rooted in your power, and become the change so needed in this world. So I'm very excited about having you on this summit, Claudia.
Thank you. Thank you.
So for all of you listening to this podcast and watching this video, perhaps, I would love to invite you to join the Women Thrive Summit. Go over to womenthrivesummit.com, reserve your seat for this upcoming summit in March, and be part of this journey. We have built a platform for female leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers to have a voice, to share their message, and to inspire you, our audience, today. I'm excited that this year we have more than 30 amazing speakers and amazing leaders from all around the world sharing their stories to impact your life, to inspire you and transform something that maybe you are craving in your life right now. Thank you all so much, and so much to Claudia, who have been sharing her story on this podcast today. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you, Claudia.
Thank you.